Pregame.com.
Welcome back on Pregame.com. I'm Pauly Howard. That's Teddy Covers. Today, sharps versus squares, pros versus Joes, whatever you want to say. The great Jimmy Vaccaro has a solid line. Sharps bet numbers, squares bet teams. Break it down for us, Teddy.
And that's the truth of it. I mean, sharps bet numbers and squares bet teams. And the squares is not a nice term. I prefer to use the word or the terminology recreational player. You know, pros versus Joes. Squares is like, oh, you're a square. That's the worst. Not everyone's going to be a professional bettor. Not everyone has time to be a professional bettor. I don't think we'd want everyone to be a professional bettor. There are guys that like to have some action. They like to have some action on TV. You know, we'll call them recreational players. But if you're talking about the single biggest difference, you nailed it. Sharps are going to be most interested in getting the number. If the line was 3 and it moves to 3.5, guess what? A self-respecting sharp's going to go, not so much. You know, not going to involve with that wager. The square, doesn't matter, the line goes -3, yeah, 4, who cares? Let's lay 6. You know, so sharps are definitely more interested in getting the best of the number, in particular, beating the closing point spread. That matters a lot to sharps. To squares, it doesn't even matter a little bit.
What's true? What isn't true about sharps?
Well, the number one thing that I have to say that's people say sharps like it's this homogenous group. It's not. Sharps are any number of individual players and or betting syndicates. We don't all talk to each other on the phone every night. There's no giant sharp posting forum where we're all interacting with one another. Different guys have different opinions. Different groups are betting different numbers. It's not the sharps. It's, well, some sharps or many sharps, but it's not all the sharps are on this and all the squares are on. Well, there are definitely games where all the squares are on.
Yeah.
But there are not a lot of games that every sharp bettor is. It just doesn't work that way. It's not a homogeneous group. And the other thing that's worth noting is that in 2014, some of the syndicate money, some of the big syndicate money, some of the we're moving the line syndicate money, it's really not that sharp. You know, we're not talking about Billy Walters' crew here. You know, in the modern betting marketplace, things change from year to year. And there is some big money out there coming, some from here in the U.S., some originating overseas. It's not sharp, you know, it's big money, but when we talk about getting the best of the number, it's just not happening from these quote-unquote sharps. They're not sharps. Just because you're a syndicate doesn't mean you're a sharp bettor.
So a couple things that have been out there. Has this changed the last few years, or has it always been this way that you hear they only bet dogs, they won't lay big favorites, they won't lay $3 in baseball? Is that always been the case, or?
It's never been the case. That's the beauty of it, is that you have these mantras about what sharp bettors do and what sharp bettors like to do. Guess what? Sharp bettors will lay points with a road favorite if they think there's value on the road favorite, if they think they're getting a good number on the road favorite. A $3 favorite in baseball, guess what? If the sharp number says, yeah, you know, they should be $3.40, they'll lay $3 all day. You know, won't even think about it. Sharp bettors won't, what was another one? Won't lay points in the road or only take dogs.
Baseball, yep.
That's
baseball
silly. That's those mantras may be coming from guys I like to call them square sharps. You know, guys that think that they know what's going on, but maybe not so much. There are plenty of guys like that out there that aren't necessarily very successful bettors, but they have these mantras locked in. Oh, I'm not going to lay points. It's silly. It's not sharp. Sharps are about getting good numbers. It's just that simple. And whether it's a sharp side or a square side, that's not what real sharp bettors are worried about. They're worried about, hey, did I lay 2.5 when the market's going to 3 or 3.5? Because if so, I got a sharp bet in my pocket.
Mm-hmm. Well done. Thanks for watching on Pregame.com. That goes